Hello everyone and welcome to Subaru's 2022 Outback Wilderness. This is the new wild side of Subaru, as Wilderness appears to be a new sub-brand for the portfolio. So obviously with the Outback, it's a lifted wagon bought by people that maybe have long snowy winters and they need a vehicle that's more than capable in that kind of environment. Maybe they just regularly drive on some broken up rocky roads. The Subaru Outback is an excellent vehicle for that case, but Subaru has done quite a lot for the Wilderness to make it more off-road capable. But for now, let's get onto the road. We'll do a little bit of talking here on this rocky, broken up, gravelly road, and I can tell you what Subaru has done to this product. We'll have some fun in all of the different environments, and then I'll get back onto the road so I can share with you what living with this Outback Wilderness is like. Has it been compromised in day-to-day livability for its extra capability? Find out later on in the video. But for now, let's hit the road and have some fun. Walking up to the Subaru Outback Wilderness, it's obvious the amount of changes that have gone towards this new product, and the list really is quite extensive. For the outside, we've got a lot more body cladding, noticeably more on the front and rear fascia, so there's a little more durability if you are doing perhaps some more extravagant off-road riding, a lot of dirt and rocks flying up. You're going to be damaging less metal and less paint. The front fascia also has new LED lights, which to me look a little bit aftermarket, even though I don't believe that they are. You'll see there's a lot more copper accenting, blacked out badging, and the Subaru Wilderness badges below the wing mirrors and on the boot lid. Now, the interesting thing with the Wilderness is that it essentially replaces what was known as the outdoor trim for the years previous on the Outback. But the outdoor was changing around the coloring of the plastic cladding. You got a full-size spare, so the Wilderness is an obvious step up over that and justifying the reasons why Subaru is essentially creating a new sub-brand. But it's interesting how there was once a vehicle filling this space and Subaru decided to develop on it further. Now, other changes that have come for the Wilderness, we have 17-inch rims and all-terrain tires. You get a full-size spare all-terrain underneath the false floor. That's fantastic if you ever are doing some kind of serious off-roading, or just life in general, really. It's good to have a full-size spare in the bag. Other things that have come along, the roof rails have been beefed up because one of the essential elements of the brand that Subaru is trying to build with the Wilderness is to create ready, out-of-the-box, overlanding vehicles. And a lot of people want to do rooftop tenting these days. So the static weight load of those roof rails is 700 pounds, certainly enough for a couple and their roof tent and surely their belongings. Couple other quick things to mention. We've got plenty of copper accenting here on the inside. The seats use what Subaru calls an all-weather proofing leatherette. So it isn't quite as premium as the limited or the premier trim of the Outback, but still, the space in here is fantastic. The seats themselves, I think, are very comfortable, and the build quality so far has proven to be very, very successful. And finally, it is important to know that here in Canada, you can only get the Wilderness with the 2.4-litre turbocharged flat 4 engine. It has 260 horsepower and 277 pound-feet of torque. It's the engine that you would see on the GT versions of the Legacy or with the higher-end trims of the Outback. It's still mated to a continuously variable transmission, symmetrical all-wheel drive, and Subaru claims that they've jiggled about with the software or the programming with the CVT to make it more off-road ready, even though I'm not quite sure what that means yet. And then we have some more capable springs, a ride height increased by 21 millimeters, and the approach, breakover, and departure angle have all been improved. So we're going to head out into the proper Wilderness, have a little bit of a montage reel for you, and then on the way out, when I'm on the road, I'll recap what I felt behind the wheel going through all of those various environments and how the Wilderness stacks up out in the wild. Okay, so I have rejoined the road after my camera being shaken loose out of its mountings. And I'm going to be level with you. What I did in the Wilderness is far from groundbreaking, but the ride and the build quality, the composure under hard braking or hard acceleration, this Subaru Outback has really impressed me. And with the normal Outback, I'm sure that you could go out and do exactly what I did, but because you have a little bit more of a built-in goal to go out and do a little more exploration than something you would do in the typical lifted wagon, the Outback Wilderness, I think, is more impressive than the regular Outback. If you turn off the traction control, it really does turn off the traction control. You'll still have the symmetrical all-wheel drive system working against you in the way that if you really want the back end to step out, you're going to really have to force it. You can certainly determine a fair amount of understeer if you ever want to do some faster gravel road rally kind of driving scenarios, and there really isn't much connection to the front wheels. There was a couple of occasions where I was driving really slowly, swaying the wheel about, but not really feeling where the front wheels were pointing. But now I've left that environment behind, and now I'm on a nice clean stretch of road doing highway speed. And there's almost no compromises with the Wilderness. Really, the only noticeable difference that I can tell is there's a little bit more wind noise due to the chunkier roof rails, but I don't notice any more sound coming from the tires or the road, given that the all-terrain tires you would expect would pick up the road surfaces a little more and therefore be a little noisier. But it isn't. The build quality is the best that I've seen ever in a Subaru. And I've now been in this car for 8 hours today. And even though there isn't as much lower leg support that I would typically like in a car, these seats are supremely comfortable. I really think that the Subaru Outback Wilderness is a better vehicle than the normal Outback. I would have never suspected this, but it gives this vehicle a lot more character with the capability you want to be in it more, and it lets you down in almost no ways when you live with it in the real world. It's stunning. Saying that though, the Outback is still not perfect. There's a few elements that could be improved upon in this product. First of all, with the 11.5-inch touchscreen, even though I like the portrait display, and here with Apple CarPlay, it's actually set up with the portrait orientation, and I like that there's a fixed space down below for your climate control systems. It isn't the fastest. There's certainly a lot of other vehicles in this category, Honda and Ford come to mind, with their touchscreens that have much faster responses than what you'd see here in this Subaru. And the CVT, even though it isn't as good as what Honda uses in the 1.5 litre version of the Accord, the programmed gear shifts for up and down work fairly well. They're definitely better than the last Outback that I tested. But the CVT used in the Accord is a little bit sweeter, a little bit sharper, and there's at times where you'll feel sort of that rubber bandy effect with this CVT if you're ever just trying to extract a little bit more power, a little bit more acceleration. Really, it acts most like a traditional automatic when you are pushing down hard and trying to reach redline. I have to also say that with the additional ride height and a lot more rubber in the sidewall, if you switch around directions or you take a hard turn, there is a little bit of body roll in the Outback Wilderness, but really no sway. It doesn't feel like, because we have additional capability, we're losing out on any enjoyment on the road. So all I can say, honestly, is congratulations to Subaru. I think they've made a killer product, and we know that their Encore is coming. They're coming out with a Forester Wilderness in the next few months. So hopefully I'll be able to get my hands on that product, and hopefully the Wilderness sub-brand will give people even more of a reason to step into a Subaru and get out into the wilderness that not only this vehicle is trying to achieve, but some of the other core Subaru products are wanting to be a part of too. So well done to Subaru. And that's all I have to say. Thank you very much. Hope to see you on the channel again soon.